Hi, Tim Santoni, and welcome to the Santoni Spotlight. Today we have the pleasure of Saar Swartzon joining us, partner at Cohn & Swartzon. Saar, thanks so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get started, maybe tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, your practice, and what is it you guys do over at Cohn & Swartzon?
Sure. My name's Saar Swartzon, as you heard earlier. I practice exclusively personal injury. That means I help people who have been injured as a result of someone else's negligence. A lot of car accidents, dog bites, those kinds of things are mainly what I do. My firm was created 10 years ago with my law partner, Jason Cohn, and that's all we do on a contingency fee basis.
Great. So, I think there's a lot of misinformation about personal injury attorneys and the like, and so maybe give us kind of the three most common misconceptions or three things that people, are unclear about, or why they would engage with a personal injury attorney, or even talk to one, maybe not even engage, but talk to one when they're involved in an accident or negligent act of a third party.
And the main misconception is that we're just out there for money. We're chasing ambulances. I'm not fast enough to catch one, so I certainly wouldn't be doing that. But the most important thing is that one of the things that we can provide that others can't when they're doing things on their own is that we know all the pitfalls. In the same way you go to a professional plumber who might know how to work on your plumbing system better than you can, they know the pitfalls, they've had the experience, and so that's one of the major misconceptions. The other misconception is that you can't afford an attorney, and obviously we work on contingency fee, which means we only get paid if we are actually able to obtain some kind of resolution at the end of the case in which you get money, whether it's by settlement or a verdict or whatever. That is the only way we get paid. And I guess the third misconception is the fear of being with an attorney. They're worried about what the costs are going to be and having to deal with just the nervousness of being with a law firm. And I think that the way Jason and I are, we're very down to earth. We talk to you like a regular individual. It doesn't matter if you're white collar, blue collar, no collar. We treat everyone the same, and we're really there to make sure that we protect your interests.
Very good. So, Saar, I think that people understand that if they're in an accident, they get injured, something happens, there's negligence that involved with a third party. Hey, but give us kind of a typical scenario when it might make sense to just reach out to someone like yourself or your firm just to ask those questions, just so that it's super clear, because I think that there's kind of the idea, like you said, the ambulance chaser idea, but you mentioned dog bite, but at what point is it, hey, you need expertise and insight when you're injured?
It's at the beginning of the case, because I'm going to be honest with somebody, whether it's an important case to have an attorney on, or sometimes I tell clients just to do it on their own. Sometimes they're better off not paying me a fee and doing it on their own. They might get a better result. But at the beginning of the case is when all the information is gathered, when we can look at the facts, when we see if there's who's responsible, if there's more than one responsible party, whether there's a claim against a governmental entity, whether there's a claim against some other party that we didn't know about. We have to look and see whether the person has health insurance, and if they don't have health insurance, we have the ability to get them medical care, on a lien basis, and that way they're not paying out of pocket, so they can get back to the way they were before the accident. And so right away is important to determine whether or not you actually need an attorney. And any good attorney that does personal injury, whether it's me or someone else, should be honest with you and tell you whether or not this is a smaller case that you can handle on your own by going to small claims, or whether you really do need to engage my services.
That's a great point, Saar. I think that, we've had the pleasure of working together, and I kind of know how you and Jason work with your clients, and I think that it's important that people understand that working with a credible, reputable personal injury attorney who understands those things, as I know that you take on cases that you think have the potential of recovery where there's potential insurance or damages, and that you do your diligence to make sure that those clients you take on are truly, entitled to those types of things. Like, for instance, they're not under the influence at the time of the accident. There's not other things that are out there. And I think that the people that are doing it, do you think that the people doing unscrupulous work kind of muddy the waters for what you try to do?
Yeah, I don't like to talk badly about anyone. And there are a million good lawyers who do what I do throughout the United States. And the vast majority are above board and do the right things. And there are a few bad apples that do muddy the waters, as you said. And unfortunately, it kind of puts a bad reputation on the community as a whole. as Jason often says, we're changing the face of personal injury one client at a time, because all we can do is kind of educate clients and educate the public on what it is that we do and how we are able to protect the client and make sure that they're given a fair compensation and medical care for their injuries.
Good, yeah. So, I imagine your firm handles lots of cases every month, but maybe give our viewers an example of a recent client or a case example that either was impactful to your client, their family, or that was an unusual case that, where your expertise and guidance really made a difference.
Okay, I'll try and do that without disclosing any attorney-client privilege, but what I do is, obviously I'm just a personal injury attorney, but why I do it is, in my opinion, more important. I do it because I like to make sure that the small guy isn't getting taken advantage of by the big guy. That's absolutely why I practice personal injury law and why I became an attorney in the first place. Even my mom, when I was a kid, she said, you've got to fight for yourself. And I'm here to help people fight for themselves. I'm there representing their interests against multi-million-dollar companies or huge insurance companies that may not necessarily have your best interests at heart. So every time I look at a case, whether it's a case I'm going to take or a case I think might be good for small claims, all I want to see is a good result at the end of the day where I feel like I've helped the person against a bigger entity. And so I take cases sometimes on a contingency fee, and every once in a while I'll take cases pro bono, which means for free. And usually those are the cases, they could be big, they could be small, that really play into my heartstrings, because I feel that if I don't do this for them, they may not get a good result. They may not be able to have their interests looked after. They may not be able to make sure that the system works for them. And I recently took on a case, I can't talk too much about it because I just filed the lawsuit, so it is public, but a person was killed on the freeway, and the individuals who were involved were not driving their vehicles appropriately and have not been helpful in attempting to resolve the case. As a result, I told the client, although I know there's not a lot of insurance out there at this point, we're looking into different avenues, that I would actually help them pro bono take on the case. I don't care about the money, I just want to win. And that's really, at the end of the day, I'm spending my own costs. It doesn't matter to me. I want to win for this client because she deserves it. She's now widowed. She has 2 very young kids that don't have a father. And the rest of her life has now changed as a result of somebody's malfeasance. And because they aren't participating, because they didn't do the right thing, because they didn't step up and accept responsibility, I feel that I have to make them do that.
Well, that's a great example, Saar. So I think you've hit on kind of why you got into this line of work, but maybe give us a historical, how did you get to this point? Obviously, a lot of litigation experience, trial experience, a lot of expertise in this field, but before you opened up your own firm, give us kind of a background on the career historical part of Saar Swartzon.
Sure. So when I was in law school, I competed in several trial competitions, one of which was in Chicago. And at the time, one of my friends from college, his grandfather owned a company in Chicago. I met with him when I was out there competing. And then while I was studying for the bar in California, he offered me a job. And at that time, I thought it'd be a great idea. I loved Chicago. I thought it'd be fantastic to move there. Moved to Chicago, practiced there for a few years. And then one winter day when it was below zero, and I looked at the calendar and determined that it's sunny in California, that might be a good time to move back. And so I ended up moving back, and I worked on behalf of a trustee in litigation, litigating cases for a bankruptcy trustee. And that was more my passion. I really wanted to litigate on behalf of the smaller guy. And one of my mentors said, Saar, you have to find something that really stirs your passion. And then I went into asbestos mesothelioma litigation for many years, and I tried cases all over the country, and that was great because I was representing people who were dying or who had become ill as a result of asbestos inhalation that was caused by big companies. And so I represented people in many, many cases, did many trials, and that was a great experience for me because I loved it when it was me versus 40 defense lawyers in a room, or me versus 40 defense lawyers in court. It was a thrill to be able to represent the little guy against the big guy. And many times we got a very, very good outcome for the clients and their families. And then about 10 years ago, my law partner and I, who we've known each other since college, decided, hey, why don't we join forces? It might be a good time for me to branch out on my own, to run my own firm. I've always loved business. I've always been more entrepreneurial. And we kind of hooked up forces and have been partners ever since, and it's been wonderful.
Great start. Well, that's a great story. So the theme here is that you like to be, you're a fighter, you like to be the underdog, and you don't mind taking on someone head to head in battle, whether it's in the courtroom or across the mediation table or in litigation, doesn't matter. No one scares you.
No, and that's the thing. And it doesn't have to necessarily be adversarial. Some of the best cases I have are with amazing defense lawyers on the other side. I think cordiality actually works better in many instances. I just had a hearing yesterday with the defense lawyers, sat next to each other, we talked afterwards. I think that you can get to a good result and still be a good person getting there. And that's an important thing to me, that I've seen a shift from the old days of practicing law, where, you know, opposing attorneys would go to lunch together, get drinks after work, to now it seems to be much more adversarial. And it's a shame, because it doesn't have to be that way.
Sure. Well, great. Well, before we let you go, we got to move into some personal stuff. So we're going to put 30 seconds on the clock and do a little lightning round.
All right.
So here we go. So coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Cream or black?
Black.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
You have any dogs?
I have a dog.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a Portuguese water dog named Bentley.
Bentley, very cool. And your favorite app?
My favorite app is Audible, because I listen to books constantly in my car. I was listening to a book on the way here.
So what's the best book you've listened to on Audible in the last 12 months?
The best book I've ever listened to is Getting More, which is a terrific negotiation book, and not just in the legal atmosphere, but really in all aspects of life. That I recommend to every single person that I've ever met. And in fact, I tell them, if you buy the book, you don't like it, I'll buy the book back. That's how much I'm sure that they'll like the book. But it's really terrific. I use it in everyday life. I even try and use it with my kids. So that's probably one of the best books I've listened to.
Gotcha. So when you're not litigating, you're not reading books and playing with Bentley, tell us a little bit about your family and kids.
Yeah, right now I'm married. I have two kids, two daughters. My daughters are 13 and 9. My oldest daughter goes to the Orange County School of the Arts. I'm very involved in the arts there. My younger daughter goes to a private school in Yorba Linda. And I actually am on the board of directors for the Wooden Floor, which is a nonprofit in Santa Ana. I'm the vice chairman of the Wooden Floor. It helps kids get into college through dance. And I'm a supporter of different arts things. I was very involved as an actor as a kid. My sister was a ballet dancer, even professionally. My kids are involved in the arts, so it's a very important thing to me.
Awesome. Well, Saar, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us, and we look forward to providing your information. If you want to connect with Saar, his information will be linked up in the show notes below. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you very much.